All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's open with prayer, if you will. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for today, that we can gather here as we get ready to begin these school year, Lord. Be with our students, start preparing their hearts. Be with our faculty. As there are so many unknowns as we get ready to navigate, we ask for a sense of calm and peace and strength, like only you give it, Lord. Lord, use Westminster as a light not only for our Westminster families, but in the community. Use this time, use us, Lord, to help grow in your love, Lord. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'd like to introduce myself, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. Many of you are current Westminster families, so you know who I am. But if you're new, my name is Alex Gonzalez. I'm the high school principal. And thank you for being here. We've set up 4 different orientations just so we can limit space and number of people. But if you're looking at us online as well, hopefully the information we say here today will help you in this process of opening the school year. So I want to kind of recap a little bit the reopening of schools plan. And the plan, when it was released in the middle of July and then updated on August 1st, was that there are 3 possible scenarios. And that scenario is, 1, we have open doors to all students all the days. Plan B is that we have a hybrid model where we are open for face-to-face, but on certain days limited. So it's a reduced capacity structure. And then the last plan is, of course, the all-remote model. And all summer long, we have prepared for all 3 models because we really didn't know at what point in August which one we would have to implement. So we want to make sure as a school we were ready for all 3 plans. Mr. Scott Jones communicated early in the summer that Westminster's target dates were July 1st and August 1st. That those were the days we wanted to communicate information. And on July 1st, you received information. And on August 1st, you received the final update. And throughout the month of July, there were even additional communications with what is the complete plan, and then on August 1st, the final decision. For the hybrid model, I know the top question is, what group is my child in? Are they in Group A or in Group B? Because middle school starts on Monday, the goal was to make sure that those students are aware, so the school spent time identifying all the middle school students in Group A and Group B. The high school students, we have a team of people, our curriculum director, we have some counselors, we're registered, they're working on finalizing that group. It's very easy to say, take your roster and divide it in half alphabetically and 50%. But when you start going into each class, each section, sometimes it doesn't get divided 50%. So this team of directors and administrators and counselors, they actually went in section by section and making sure that the numbers were fair in every classroom. So you can imagine when I have almost 60 faculty times 7 periods, that's a lot of number of sessions that they went through and checked and played with. So, because some people are asking, how is it being done? Is it by last name? Is it by zip code? Is it by this? In the end, we just wanted to make sure every period was appropriately placed in different groups. So that even though the school may be 50%, you may end up in a class with 22 students in Group A and only 2 students in Group B. That doesn't seem fair. So what they're doing is they're going through every session, and at maximum, we're looking at 14 to 16 students per class, per group. So the high school one is done, and it will be sent out later this afternoon, so you will find out. If you're a current Westminster family and have a child in middle school, then you already know your group number for high school, because one of the other factors is making sure that the families that have multiple children are all lined up with the same days. So if you know you have a 6th or 7th or 8th grader and they're in Group B, then your high schooler is going to be in Group B as well. Okay, so there's many factors that went into the assigning of Group A and Group B. Why the Group A and Group B? Why the hybrid model? What is the rationale? This school year is very different than the years in the past. So what we decided to do is we want to open. There is nothing like face-to-face interaction. Students need to be on campus. Students need to form relationships with their peers. They need to form relationships with their teachers, with their coaches, with everything about the journey that we're on here during high school. So in that, we said, let's do this in a transitional format. Pre-K already started this week. Because we all know as parents, those 3 and 4-year-olds, there's a little special. I mean, it's their first, for some of them, it's their very first day ever in school. So we wanted to make sure we started with them this week. And then our elementary starting on Monday, middle school hybrid, and then high school the following week. For the last 14 years, high school has not been here on the first day of school because we are in a retreat. So to consider that for our elementary parents and our middle school parents as they're doing drop-off and figuring out the traffic patterns and figuring out the brand new screening process, we wanted to stick with that same transition. So that is the rationale why we have 3 different start dates. With the little ones on August 3rd that already started, then we have an August 10th, and we have an August 17th, just so that we can transition wisely with the drop-off and pickup, with the screening process, and making sure that it's as comfortable as possible for the families and for the students and for the faculty. So that's why the staggered start dates. And again, for the last 14 years, the high schools traditionally started 1 week after, so it's a little consistency as well. However, the plan is that we are eventually transitioning all the way to an open campus where we're not limiting you as a family what days you can come. So the target date right now is right after Labor Day weekend, which I believe is Tuesday, September 8th. Okay? So that's what we're moving towards, because you need to have a plan in place. We don't like those plans where until further notice. Well, what does that mean? So we have plans, and we're moving towards that as wisely as possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we've done everything possible, and we now have 0 risk. There's not an organization out there that can tell you that honestly. We've done many things to try to minimize, from air purifiers to face coverings to reducing capacity and doing things through the screening process and doing many things, but we all know in life there are risks we have to take. And as a family, you have to do what is comfortable for you. Many schools are not giving options. If you feel you are not ready, you have the option. We are live streaming all of our classes. We are using the system called the OWL system. I encourage you to look it up. Google, there are great videos to show you exactly what that's going to look like. Our teachers had one training on it last week. They've already have it in their classrooms. They're demoing it. They're using it. And it's got amazing features. As well as next week, we will continue some PD, some professional development, in making sure the OWL is implemented wisely. As we transition, so come September, if you're a family who has chosen the Connect option, meaning you're going to keep your child at home, when we transition in September, you still have that option of Connect. Okay, we are not eliminating that option. We want to make sure that you as a family come back to campus when you are ready. Okay? What if you make one decision, but then 2 weeks into it, you decide to change that decision for whatever reason and in whatever direction that change may occur? That is acceptable. You just need to contact the high school office. What I am allowing is I have chosen Connect, and now that I see 2 weeks into school, I feel comfortable changing it to bringing them in person. You may do that. I've been allowing them to come to school. And come Tuesday, September 8th, when we're all in, you know what, I was okay with hybrid, but I'm not okay with the full in. May I change it to Connect? The answer will be yes. What I will not say yes to is on Monday, I don't feel like dealing with traffic, so I'm going to stay home. And then Tuesday, I'm going to come in. And then Thursday, I'm going to come back. And Friday, I'm not. Those are not justified changes. Okay, so you as a family have a justified reason to change between face-to-face or online. That's perfectly acceptable. Maybe your child is not feeling well, or someone in the household has come down with something and you need to quarantine for so many days. We all know, I was there as a student at one point, and I said, man, sometimes missing school is more of a headache than doing all the makeup work. So you decide, you know what, I'm going to go to school. Well, the Live Connect option is a great tool for students that for some reason just aren't ready to come in, or for whatever reason, whether it's medical quarantine or just something's occurred. But it will not be a day in, day out, and how I wake up in my mood. That will not be allowed, and you will get a phone call from the high school office if we see that pattern. So just make sure you're in communication with us if something from your family has changed in terms of plans. But the Connect option is a viable option for any family, and we respect that. And I hope you respect that amongst each other. We want to make you as comfortable as possible, but at the same time, we want to give you options. So that's the rationale behind that. Next, in the original plan that was released in the middle of July, it said that the first day of school, Monday, August 10th for high school, was going to begin at 9 a.m. Again, the rationale behind that, I met with my high school team, and we said, you know what, we don't know what the screening process is going to look like, we don't know what traffic is going to look like, and we don't know that first day what elementary and middle are going to look like. So let's stagger 1 hour back. Now that with the decision has been made to stagger it 1 week back, there is no need for that 9 a.m. start. So come Monday, August 17th, we will begin at 8 a.m. So just for clarity, in fact, if you look at the August 1st release, that 9 a.m. start is not in there. Okay, but just, I know some of you looked at the July and then you assumed the August 1st was very similar. No, the August 1st, again, Mr. Jones communicated that August 1st will kind of be our last final update. So make sure you read the August 1st release of our plan, because that is the plan that we are implementing. And for the most part, it's all the same, but just some minor changes. And I just mentioned one of them, which is that start time for day one. Okay, we will be starting on 8 a.m. Now, someone asked me, what is the bell schedule? Well, it's actually on that email. It's on our school site. But today, now that the hybrid schedule is completed and we have our Group A and Group B, when I email a recording of this session, I'm going to include the bell schedule, and I'm going to include the Group A and Group B assignments. For those of you that just like estimates, school is from 8 to 3. For those of you that are like me and are very detail-oriented, some days we're all the way to 2:30, some days we're till 3:10. Why? Because the hybrid schedule, part of the rationale behind, we've changed it to a cohort model where there's blocking on most days of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday are block scheduling. Why? Because now there's less interactions of students changing class, and also of actual students making contact, because instead of going to 7 different classes, you're going to only 3 or 4 classes. Okay? On Wednesday is you're seeing all 7 classes, and that's the remote day. Okay? So keep that in mind. For hybrid schedule, whether you're assigned Monday, Tuesday, Group A, or you're assigned Thursday, Friday, Group B, all students are remote on Wednesday. But again, you can look at the bell schedule, but estimate anywhere from 2:30 to 3:10 is the dismissal time. And we will always start at 8 a.m. Some new norms. Look around. We're all wearing face coverings. That's part of the process. Okay? It can be uncomfortable at times. I understand. I get it. But it's part of the new norms. Okay? Also, with respect to certain things like lockers, we are not issuing lockers. I know myself, I loved the locker when I was in school because it helped organize my stuff and I didn't have to carry things around. But at this time, we're not issuing lockers. So that means this is a new opportunity to learn how to get organized in a different format. We live in a very digital world. So there really isn't a need to be carrying 10 textbooks and 10 different binders. Okay, so this is an opportunity for you to learn how to adapt to this digital, and every student is issued a Surface. Okay, I look at a lot of things as not a change, but an opportunity. Our graduating class of 2020, we had a ceremony not too long ago for them, an actual graduation ceremony. It was very different. A lot of the kids did not know what to expect. Some of the families that had older kids that had already graduated were, oh man, my oldest kid got to experience a ceremony, and now this one is not going to. But you know, after all was said and done, it was probably one of the most beautiful experiences we had. Because sometimes new doesn't always mean bad. In fact, we are together as a faculty, as a team, as a community. We're looking at this as an opportunity. How can we adapt? And we're trusting the process. We don't know what the outcomes are. Anyone who says school is going to look like this, nobody knows what school is going to look like. But we know we're putting many people together. We're getting many different input. We're looking at statistics. We're looking out there, and we're coming up with new opportunities for your children. It broke my heart when I thought of the seniors' first day of school on campus, because historically, seniors' first day, they do a little caravan. Well, if we're only at 50%, what does that look like? That's okay. We went to the senior student leadership. I talked to Mr. Castaneda, our activities director. I said, talk to the students in leadership. Talk to those seniors. This is a new opportunity. What can we do slightly different? So, yes, it's going to look different, but that's okay. That graduation ceremony was beautiful. It was amazing, and we all loved it. New opportunity. Sage dining, our lunch. It's going to look a little different. all self-serving stations have been eliminated. Before, students would go and they would make their own salad plates or their own sandwich or their own soup, those self-serving stations. That doesn't mean those options have been eliminated. It just means they're no longer self-serving. So as students go in, they'll have 2 different hot plate items, but they will also have salad options that are already kind of pre-plated. So they can't make their own salad, but there are still salad options as well as sandwich options. Okay? So it will look different, but that doesn't mean there's not options there available. In the past, the rule was you have to eat in the SAC, and then you can go out to the courtyard and deck. Well, we're trying to expand spaces. We have a beautiful campus, and outdoor is encouraged. So we're going to allow eating outdoors. So we've put more tables outside of the SAC, in the pavilion, in the elementary basketball court, but even in the courtyard and deck, where we're going to give students opportunity to basically have a lot more space for them during their lunchtime. After-school activities, large gatherings, that's going to look a little different. Of course, for many of you that are athletes, you're asking, what's going on? Well, FHSAA has a board meeting on August 14th. They have said that in that meeting, they're going to release the calendar for the year. So we're all going to be tuned in to see exactly what does that mean, because the calendar for the year is, when does fall sports start? When does it end? When does winter sports? And of course, spring sports. So that's going to be a very big meeting that we're all tuned in. However, that has not slowed us down. We are here, our coaches are here, we have been in training, we have been practicing. So that calendar is all about competition in terms of games. So our coaches are still preparing our athletes. But that also is the same about fine arts. Fine arts has competitions. Fine arts has different things that they prepare for, different performances. So what does that look like? So our fine arts program is not stopping from preparing our students. And then as those events become official and those dates, that communication will be sent out to the families and to the students so that they're aware of what we've been preparing for. And even if it doesn't, certain dates get pushed back, we're still going to make sure we have a thriving, enriching program for our students. Our school mission. Our school mission has not changed. Empowering learners, preparing hearts, inspiring lives to faithfully serve as ambassadors for Jesus Christ. And if you look at our plan, our goal is, how can we get students, how can we get our families, how can we get our faculty to fulfill that mission? And we need our students here. We need our students being active, whether it be through fine arts, through athletics, through clubs. We need our students in chapels. So large gathering events, they're not allowed to be taking place. In fact, if you've ever been to an orientation, I normally have this side and that side full of parents. And look at us here. I've had 5 different orientations scheduled today in small groups of 40. We don't want to do that. We want to be here together, but we understand that this is a new opportunity for us. So it actually, I'll tell you, you're my second session. My first session, it was a great opportunity to be a little bit more intimate. I was actually able to answer every single question. And in my group of 500, there's no way we could have done that. So it was a new opportunity. And in our chapels, that's exactly how we're approaching it. We're saying, okay, if we can't gather all together, let's do some small group stuff. Our faith integration is an integral part of who we are at Westminster. So we're not going to eliminate opportunities to grow spiritually together. It's just going to look a little different. In fact, last year and the year before, we started periodically meeting in small groups. And it was successful. Our students, instead of getting all together in one room, they would meet anywhere from 8 to 16 students in a room with a teacher. Our chaplain would prepare for our teacher some guiding questions so that everyone was more or less on the same theme. But it was an intimate setting where they can grow, they can interact from a spiritual, biblical perspective. So that's how we're going to start the year with our chapels, with the ultimate goal of doing a huge concert celebration once we can get everybody in to the new lighthouse. But we will be doing small groups for now at the beginning. Even Warrior Week. We're not starting the school year with Warrior Week, but that's okay. It's a new opportunity. Some have said, you're crazy for having scheduled it. Some have said, you're crazy for having postponed it. We get everything. We get every input you can imagine. We've heard it all. So here's my response to that. Number one, Warrior Week is not something you can put together overnight. So if we do not have a set date, It's not going to happen. So we have a set date, and that is the week right after we come back from Thanksgiving break. It's the first week of December. Okay? Why? Because it's planning, and there's a process, and there's a lot of details that go into that. And what a cool opportunity. Can you imagine in December, the first week of December, being in Georgia? Now all of a sudden, because some students are like, oh, we can't do the lake. I know, but we could have some pretty cool bonfires, and some a little bit cooler weather, and some different activities can be done. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wait a minute, yes, I didn't think of it that way. So these are new opportunities. But we also know that we're going to continue monitoring things. We're not going to just say, okay, and regardless of what happens, someone asked me at one point, with 100% set guarantee, there's nothing in life that's 100% guarantee. We are going to be meeting weekly, and we're going to make decisions based on your students, based on families, based on our faculty, and we're going to do what's best for the Westminster Christian community. Okay? We are here to serve your children. This is a partnership. Those of you that have done a family interview with me, you know that that's what I say. This is a partnership between the home, the school, and the church to raise your children. God has entrusted us with your kids. And we want to make sure that you as the home are first in making those decisions. So we want to give you those options. And I hope you recognize and respect some of the decisions a school made, because in the end, you as a home have the final choices. And it doesn't take away from our school culture. It's an opportunity to enhance it. Is it going to look a little different? Absolutely. Are there going to be certain times where a student I myself, I know as soon as I leave here, I'm probably going to go into my office and lower my mask and just catch my breath for a second because I will be alone in that environment. I get it. But then I will put it back on because I want to be respectful to the school's decisions. So as a student, if there's a time where you're in class and I just need to use the restroom for a second, or I need to go get some water, make sure your child has a water bottle, because our water fountains, right, all the recommendations. So we've put bottle refill stations that's contactless and different things. So again, we are taking steps. Every classroom has received an air purifier that has the HEPA filters and even the UV lighting. Doesn't guarantee anything, but it's one more step we're taking. Stationary spots such as offices or a teacher's desk, we're implementing some plexiglass. Student desk, we decided not to. The reason is because at the end of every period, it's a brand new student coming into that area. So it becomes very mobile. So it did not make sense to do that in those particular spots. So everything there's a thought and a reason behind it. Okay? And communication, last but not least. Someone even texted me this morning and says, is the orientation still on? I said, I didn't know it was canceled. As a school, Ms. Poveda and her team does an amazing job of communicating out with our families. But we also want to be conscientious of the number of emails going out and the number of messages going out. So if we sent out a communication, the only reason there would be a follow-up is if there's a change to that plan. Otherwise, we're doing a meeting to schedule a meeting. I don't know if you understand that concept, but the concept is we send something out, here's our plan. If there's a change to a plan, there will be a follow-up to it. If there's no change to the plan, then we're staying at status quo. I was a math teacher for 15 years before I became an administrator the last 4. And you can imagine a high school math teacher, you learn to be a little repetitive. So my faculty is always making fun of me that you tend to say the same thing. But you know what? It's intentional sometimes. So the message gets through. But we want to be mindful of emails and certain things. So plans, decisions are made, it's communicated, and then it will only be communicated again if there's a change to that. I hope this orientation has kind of clarified some things, but at this time I'm going to open it up to a little Q&A, some questions, and we can address any of your questions or concerns. Yes? Amen. Absolutely. So I'm going to repeat, since I'm being recorded for the video sessions, I'm going to repeat the question. So one is grateful for these opportunities and the choices, But the question is, when exactly are we finding about A and B? So the bell schedule will be released via email today. It was actually already, if you look at the previous email, the problem was it was a link on the word high school. So some people didn't see that if you click the word high school, the bell schedule would appear. So we're going to make it a little bit more clear that it was already sent, where it's going to say click here for bell schedule versus high school bell schedule, and the via link. Also, who's in Group A and who's in Group B? That has not been released yet. So that one, if you don't know, don't feel bad you don't know. The bell schedule, you should have known, although I understand that the link wasn't clear. But the hybrid A and who's in Group B and who's in Group B, A, is going to be released this afternoon. And again, the priority was to make sure middle school is ready. And now high school, they went period by period to make sure the numbers are at least 14 to 16 or less. So that you'll find out Group A and Group B today, if not tomorrow, the latest. Other questions? Yes? Mhm. Sure. Great question. Well, number one, our tables are only so big. So natural sitting space is going to help alleviate that. So her question is, during dining, group gatherings, at what point do we say this group is too large as they're out on campus? And actually, that statement, I would say, goes further than just lunch, because when students are outside, they pretty much have access to the campus. So what does gatherings look like on campus? The actual answer is natural sitting spaces will definitely help with that, but we are not going to sit there and say, oh, there's 6 of you and you're only allowed to be 5. That is okay. You have to understand, if you read the reopening plan, we're trying to maintain certain physical spaces where it's feasible. Teachers have done an excellent job of kind of trying to separate the desk as much as possible, but it is not feasible to do 6 feet of space in a school setting. It's just not feasible, okay, because of the way school buildings, school classrooms are designed. Okay, so that is not going to happen in certain times of the day in certain areas. However, really large groups, once you see a group of 15, 20 students all huddled together, actually, maybe it's my 15 years of experience, you get 15, 20 students all grouped in a circle, okay, what's going on in the middle? There's a fight in something, Although at Westminster, we usually don't have that problem. But that's always you're always the first one in there as an administrator saying, okay, if 20 students are grouped in a circle, what's going on? So I'm naturally going to be in that once I see that anyway. But that's just probably educator experience. Most group of students, usually naturally from the years past, you're talking about 10 or less in certain areas. But understand the 6 feet rule that you hear some in certain areas, that is not feasible in a school building and in your school classroom. We're going to encourage physical space. We're going to mark off certain seats, using the blue tape and stuff like that. But for the most part, students are on campus wearing the face coverings. They need to make their educated choices, and we will be talking to them and moving around. Other questions? You guys are a good group. The last one had a few more, but it was actually some of their questions I incorporated into this session. It was the reason after August 7th is because the first week of school, now that pre-K has been here for 1 week, elementary is starting Monday, and middle school is starting with the hybrid schedule Monday. So the athletic department met, and they decided for that first week of August 10th, it's canceled. But our practices plan to resume on the 17th. So when high school starts, that's when athletics practicing starts. What does the games look like? We'll find out on the 14th, and your coaches will give you that information. But that next week, we've put a ban on extracurricular activities just to make sure, again, we don't know what next week's going to look like, so we have hired extra personnel. Our nurses station has done an amazing job of being mobile in certain areas, having an isolation unit, hiring additional staff. We have screeners. So to make sure we have prepared well, we want to do this in a transitional way. So athletics was paused for 1 week, get everything done, and then resume back on the 17th. Okay? Other questions? Guys, God bless. I thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Take care.